Let's do it. So today, Allie and Matt are both hanging out in the comments. So if you see the Wonder Jam heckling me as we go through everything today, then that's Allie, and she's just teasing me a little bit, which she might do. Because sometimes when we're on this side of the screen together, she'll remind me to smile and, enunciate and not swallow my words and all those other things. Anyways, we're going to jump into it. A couple of announcements we're going to get into. The first one is, if any of you listen to our podcast, you maybe heard a little treat this week. One of the Diamond members made a special appearance, which we loved a lot. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So today, I'll get into the announcements first. Let me try and share all this on. Ashley wants me to go through my outfit of the day. I don't know how to share my screen on Facebook. How do I do that? I can't do it. Let me see. What are we doing? What are we doing? Whoa, full screen. I just want to share my screen. If you just let me do that, that would be beautiful. It's not possible. I don't know how to do it. I'm like clicking on every button. Okay, no. Oh, Ashley, yeah, Ashley's curious about what everyone's wearing, so that's good. We gotta get that figured out right away. See what we got here. All right, Allie, I can't figure out how to share my screen on Facebook, which is going to be annoying. I'm thinking probably that's going to be very annoying. So she's going to check it out, and we can see where we go from there. But I'll go through some announcements. Allie's checking out some other stuff. So coming up in the future, we're starting a new thing for you guys. Jamie says it'll work if we paid money. I believe it. Luckily, Jamie, you're hanging out in Crowdcast, so you can see us. A new thing that's coming up is I'm going to send an email to all of you guys, or I'm going to send an email to everybody. And if you're a Diamond member, I have been very fascinated by some of the stuff that you all are working on, and some of the conversations I get to have with you all offline help greatly inform the type of stuff that we put into a capsule. So the place people are asking us questions, the place people are getting stuck. And so I'm going to start, I'll send out pretty regular emails to you asking if you'd like to chat for 10, 15 minutes. And I would just love to learn what you're working on, any new projects you have coming up, what's exciting. And one, I'm just curious to always stay connected. But two, I would love to put together some content around whatever you guys are working on. Because if you're struggling with something or you're stuck somewhere, probably somebody else is. So might as well take care of one person, and we probably will end up taking care of everybody, which I'm pretty hyped about. So randomly this week, it seemed like last week, everybody was asking about email automations, which was very cool, and not something I ever expected everybody to be trying to figure out at the same time. So we can work on things like that. The next announcement, Ali posted those links in the group, and you can jam on all of that. Matt's got a link for everybody over to the other stuff. So May's capsule is going to be Let's Talk Content. So we're going to talk about very specific pieces of content that you'll need to be created. So people talked about in the poll we ran, people talked about needing help with copy or needing help with, setting up their own website. We've talked to a number of folks, some people who are in the Diamond membership, we have built their website for them, and that's really cool. And others are very excited, or at least want to give it a good old-fashioned try at building it for themselves. And so all of this is we have copywriter Caitlin walking through how to do specific copywriting things that you'll need to do for your business. We got producer Michael to put together some tutorials on building your own podcast. So if any of you have been like, man, I really need to start a podcast, but I don't know what microphone I should have, or I don't know what website to sign up for, we've got you covered for that. He's going to go through for all of that. Would love to see some of you start podcasting if you want to. It's a cool thing. And then prices go up. You guys know this, but you're in here. So price goes from $126 a year to $168 a year. Emily, you need a podcast real bad. So you guys know that. It pops up on April 30th. I was just thinking that if you had friends who found out about it later and then they found out that you all didn't tell them about it, they would be mad at you. So if you have buddies who need to be in here but aren't, you could tell them about that. And it would be a kindness because they might be mad at you later. Like, why didn't you tell me about that? It's mean. This is what I was talking about. So Jennifer Foltz, she was our first podcast call-in ad. So she talked a little bit about her experience in the Diamond membership and how it's been good for her. And if you listen to a brand new season 4 of the podcast, you heard her and producer Michael talk a little bit. Also, Jennifer cheated and is like a voiceover pro, or at least voiceover amateur. She has some experience doing some voiceover work. Or people have told her that her voice is good for voiceover. At least, at any rate, we're doing that. You'll also see probably floating around the internet some testimonials from people who are inside of the Diamond membership. And so rather than one of the things that I wanted to do as we advertise the Diamond membership to more folks is to highlight some of the people who are in it. Okay, so Jennifer, your English teacher said you should do books on tape. Got it. So one of the things we want to do is to highlight more of you all. And so whether it's on the membership website before people sign up, or whether it's in the Facebook, Instagram ads, Twitter ads that are popping around. What else we got? Instagram story ads. We're just trying out all of the ad stuff. We'll tell you what works and what doesn't. I don't particularly know yet, but it's an experiment. And yeah, so if you want to be involved in that, that's really cool. Allie can share. She'll share in here, but I'll also include it in an email to everybody, a link to fill out a testimonial. So we've had some of you folks fill that out. It's very cool. I love hearing from all of you. Now to the main event. This is why we're here. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to supercharge your sales funnel. And we're going to play a fun little game of 21 questions. So I would expect that you all have pencils out and are ready to type. Taylor, my video feed is out. Okay. Sorry, it's annoying. Okay, we're just going to roll with it. And if this gets wonky, what I'm going to do before I upload this back up into the actual membership, I'm going to cut off the first annoying part of this so that we can really get into it and go. I'm excited about tonight because you all are smart and you all have been digesting the content that we've already put out in front of you, and you hang out and you read articles and you see things that you're supposed to be doing, but for some reason we feel a little stuck or not certain what the next correct step is. And so one of the ways that I'm going to try and trick all of us into making good, smart plans that end up in really tactical tasks and things that we're going to go create that will help our business and help us connect with more people and help people who connect with us jump through our sales funnel more quickly and more enthusiastically is I've come up with a series of 21 questions. And if you have watched this past month, if you watch April's sales funnel video, I walked through 6 stages of this. And so what I did is these questions are organized from top to bottom. And so what I want for today is if you're in the chat, I want you to jump in and answer these questions. That's why Allie's not here, so she can be pretty responsive to folks who are responding. So I'd love to hear all of your answers. We're going to play a game of 21 questions, and it's going to be dope. Okay, so question number one. Well, let me get into the reason that we're doing this. So one, we need both strategy and tactics. Growth happens bit by bit. Small things build momentum, and we keep moving forward. Any of us have been doing business long enough know that nothing happens overnight. We ask our clients, we ask ourselves. Allie and I talk about this all the time. We never had one big momentous jump or leap that happened. For some people, they saw a cool thing that we did, but they didn't know about us before, and then they did. But from where we're sitting, and probably from where you're sitting, there's not this huge wave that happens. It's not like, oh, this one thing happened and everything changed. Small things build momentum. So the first question, you guys hear me say this enough, and there's a lot of this is going to be, some of this is going to be overlap with things that have been covered already. But the first question, who is your business for? So go ahead and write in the comment section. Question number one, we're playing 21 questions. So get your typing fingers ready, get your note-taking fingers ready. Question number one, who is your business for? So the reason that we want to identify this is because a lot of times it's easy for us to hop in and create marketing and content, and it can be for the wrong people. It's easy for designers to try and impress other designers. It's easy for writers to try and impress other writers. It's easy for health coaches to try and be like and impress other health coaches when those people aren't really who our business is actually for. And so we want to focus in on that. Because if we try and if we try too much to work and convert the non-believers, we're not going to make a lot of progress. So we're going to go to our next question. Question two, more specifically, who is your business really, really the best for? So let's go one step deeper. I want to get more specific than your current answers. You all have great answers coming in, and I dig it. But I want to get more specific. So more specifically, who is your business really for? Is there a geographic focus? Is there a geographic focus? Is there some type of income level? Is there some type of revenue level for those of you who are taking care of businesses? Is there some type of profession that your ideal clients hang out in? Is there anything like that? Is it people who don't know how to X, but they really want to learn how to do that? So if we can go one more level specific, who it's absolutely really the best for. And so the Wonder Jam might say we make logos that are great for small businesses, but if I want to say even more specifically, we do branding, and our process works really well for small businesses who are one or two person businesses, or 1 to 5 person businesses. Our processes work really well for, or our price point is great for somebody who's making between $25,000 a year and $200,000 a year, or something like that. Because if we can narrow that down, it's going to help everything else get a lot more specific. I like it. You guys are doing a great job. You're nailing it. Question 3, how can you, so when you think of that second group, that really specific group, what can we do to educate, entertain, or inspire that group of people? So what type of things do people need to be seeing to learn more? If we think of what our brand is, what can we do to help them get better at what they're doing or what they're trying to do? How can we help them accomplish their own goals? How can we help them connect with more people? How can we do, what kind of things do those people need? What kind of things do those people get entertained by? That's good. You guys are still flowing with your answers. I like it. I like it. I like it. So this next one, that group of people, that really specific group of people, what do they need to be educated about? It might not be so specific related to your own business, but it might just be, what do they struggle with? And so, and how can you, what inspires them? What are they looking for? What kind of examples do they want to see? There we go. Amy over on Facebook, she mentioned that she's talking to women. She's got a pretty wide age range in there, Amy. This is the hard thing with health coaches or life coaches or mindset coaches or personal finance coaches, things like that, thinking through where they're actually really focused. So if you can get a little bit more specific. So what kind of stuff inspires them, educates them, entertains them? What are they looking for? So Ashley talks about finding practical tools at a community, someplace to connect with other people. To have some kind of connection with others is really good. So people are always looking for connection. They're always looking for relief of their problems. They're always looking for something to fascinate or entertain them. So let's get into the next one. You guys are nailing it. Question 4. How can you get in front of that group? So what could you do to get in front of a group of people who are interested in being educated, entertained, your ideal audience? How can you get in front of those people? So some of the ways that we have seen, we've seen people who have businesses where they have products. They've seen if they're health and wellness related, getting in front of bloggers can be very powerful. So other people who are writing about what types of skincare products or makeup products or food or things to put in their home, influencers, right, Kate? Any of that is very powerful. Paid advertising is very powerful. Where do those people hang out? Can you find the Pinterest boards that those type of people follow? Can you find the Tumblr accounts that those type of people follow? Do they follow Tumblr accounts? Can you find the Reddit threads or the subreddits where people, those type of people are following or jumping into? And all of those people, where are they stuck? So Kate's talking about she works with professional organizations. Kate, this has always been a part that's a little tough, right? So how can you get in front of? Can you pay to put advertising in front of those people? Do they all hang out in some type of do they all hang out somewhere? Do they all hang out in a Facebook group together? Do they all hang out online and read blogs from some type of article? Do they go to a conference? Do they all go to North Star to eat dinner? Where do those people hang out? How can you get in front of them? Collaboration's killer. Oh, good point, Allie. Allie said she mentions scheduling coffee. You can literally physically get in front of those people. I like it. You can go schedule a meeting with those people. It's very possible. So it doesn't have to be in front of the whole group at once, but it might be one-on-one. So if you can think through, we just went through 4 questions. Who is your business for, but who is it really, 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 really great and perfect and amazing for? And what do those people need to be educated about? What are they entertained by? What inspires them? And then how can you get in front of those people? And now we've come to the final thing. This is about content, right? And so those 4 questions help build up to this 5th question. What do you need to make to actually go get in front of those people? So what kind of stuff? And it might be as you're taking notes and as you're brainstorming your own business, you might find yourself saying, I need to write a really damn good email to somebody, or I might really need to just go, I might need to make a volcano and put it on top of my building and do something crazy. Or I might need to go hang out at a coffee shop where those 12 people hang out all the time. Fun story. That's more of getting in front of people. Fun story. I hung out at Cherbourg Bakery often. I was working there all the time. And then Jerry, the owner, the first time I was there, I just thought this is a magical place and they treat people very, very great. And I was just hanging out there for a while and I just was paying attention, and the owner was walking around I was walking through there with a box of books that we had helped somebody self-publish, and she was like, what is that? And so I started explaining it, and she was like, I want to make a cookbook someday. We still haven't made a cookbook yet. But that ended up turning into a really good client of ours, and I was just hanging out accidentally and being okay with starting a conversation. So you might need to make a website. Maybe you need to make some kind of online tool that helps people understand what they're doing. If you're trying to, Jennifer says, if you provide childcare, right? You can do a lot of that. Do you need to make some kind of a networking group? Do you need to make some kind of a YouTube channel? Do you need to make any of those things? What do you need to make so that you're able to get in front of those people? If you had a networking event and everything was free except you paid for the childcare, pretty good. Sponsor podcasts, get in front of people, being on other people's podcasts is powerful and very cool. So understand what kind of content do you actually need to make that matters to get in front of those people. Question number 6, what time or money are you going to invest into making those things? Jennifer, you don't have to make a podcast if you don't want to. You can be on other people's podcasts. So what kind of time or money are you going to invest in to make those things? So the answers that you had in question number 5, or when you're going through this, as you're writing down your answers and you're brainstorming this, how are you going to invest and make those things? Do you need to hire somebody? Do you need to block off time on your calendar? I had a client today who said they were going to make tutorial videos for the staff that they're training, and she asked me what kind of camera she should make, and then we got into a very long conversation about lighting and storyboarding and planning out the script of those things, because I've made this mistake, but I planned like an hour to work on a series of videos, and it ends up taking 10 hours. And so just understanding what kind of time, money investment are you going to have to put forward to make all of those things. Very cool. As we go through all of this, some of your homework that you are going to deal with at the end of all of this is going to be figuring out which of these questions do you feel like you don't actually have that good of an answer for, and which of these questions do you feel like you're crushing it at. The point of this is that not that we can answer these questions on a piece of paper or sitting here in a chat, but the point is that our business starts to do some of these things, that we have good actions for what's happening here. So the question number 7, what's the easiest medium for you to create in? Is it words? Are you good at writing? Is it images? Can you take great pictures? Can you design things? Is it video? Does that work really well for you? Can you facilitate that in a powerful way? If any of you are good on video, I would tell you to invest there. It's such a powerful connection that you can make with people. And audio is a very powerful connection as well. So if any of you are thought leaders or want people to respect you, or if your opinion matters to people, you need to be putting out content that helps people believe that you know things that you're talking about, that you can demonstrate knowledge. There's very not smart people who do a good job of putting out content, or content is written by other people entirely. It's mind-blowing. The amount of people that I've met who are famous on the internet who have ghostwriters is crazy. But yeah, working through audio, working through all of that. What's the easiest medium for you to create? Question number 8, how can you track the people who are most obviously interested? If I asked you to go find a number of people who are probably would be interested in your business, how would you figure out that number? Could you go to Facebook and start to build a fake audience? I walked through that in a short video in this month, or in April's capsule, where you can figure out what your target audience is just using Facebook advertising tools to just get a round number. People who are interested, or people who are a certain age, you can go through all the demographic information and interest information. Is there a conference of 3,000 people somewhere around that you're like, obviously there's that whole group of people is gathered together? Are there, sometimes it can, in the business that we're in, when you see a ton of things trending, you see, everybody's becoming a yoga instructor, or everybody's becoming a health coach, or everybody's a graphic designer, or everybody's a freelance photographer now. That can actually be a good indicator that there's a lot of opportunity in that space. So once you see, how do you handle figuring out where those people are? If you're a geographically focused business, can you focus in on population size? How many people have a certain type of career? How many people live within a block of your store? the goal as we walk through this, and if you go through the 6 steps to a sales funnel question video that's in April's capsule, you'll find what I'd love for you to grow to be able to do, not that you have to do it today, but what I'd love for you to grow to be able to do is start to put some numbers next to each of those stages of the funnel. So how would we identify who these people are, and what's the nice, happy, round number that we could put around how many of these people exist? So if we have a business where we're serving, the most fantastic cucumbers ever made, and we're charging $10 per cucumber. Does that sound good? Is there enough people that would buy that? How do we find those people? How do we identify that audience? So whether we're selling deodorant or food or design services or small products, who are those people? Where are they hanging out? How do we find out who those people are? What do we need to do to get in front of them? A lot of brands that I see could really benefit from this. So this is the tactics 2 that we've been talking about. How do you show up in front of those people who are obviously most interested? This is a little bit building off of that earlier question of where do your biggest audience, where do they hang out? So in one part of the earlier part of this question, it is where do those people hang out? And then what's your appropriate space for going and hanging out in that space as well? Can you sign up to volunteer at a conference? If any of you can have time to volunteer at a conference that's in your industry or a seminar, or we have people who volunteer to help out at the workshops that we do, and it's just very good networking to show up. It's just something you could. It's a place where it's very possible to go get in front of those people. Could you be a speaker? Is it better for you to show up and be a speaker somewhere? Is it better for you to show up and as an authority? Is it better for you to show up and in a way that you can just serve that audience? I see that we're getting some places where people are stuck. I would say Facebook groups, it's so easy to look at things that other people are doing and then be like, oh, I should have that as well. I think building the audience looks a lot more like, how do I show up as a thought leader, as an inspiring person, as a creative person in front of new people? And then the networks just serve as a tool to hold all of that. So you can think of it a little bit like a, what's the words are escaping me right now? A irrigation system, right? It's a system that tells the water where to go, but it's not water. And so I think if you can think about how do we make all of that happen, and then how do we structure our systems in a way so that people can move through the funnel. I know a lot of the people who are hanging out in here tonight and the people who are part of a Diamond membership are people who, when I sit and talk to them, are like infinitely interesting and fascinating and often not so well known and not thought of by a large number of people of being talented. So where can you show up in front of those other folks? You have to think about this in a new way if you're pivoting your business or if your business decides to offer a different service. So with us at the Wonder Jam, we take care of a bunch of people, and only a certain amount of them care about Diamond membership. Only a certain amount of them care about hiring us for photography. It's not like everything is a perfect fit, but you've got to figure out how do you show up in front of the right folks. Number 10, a new question. This is kind of let's have a fresh thought here. What kind of pieces of content help to make people buy from you the quickest? What kind of information do they need? And then help them get the most excited to work with you. So for the people who are in here who are graphic designers, a graphic designer, it helps people want to buy from you very quickly when they can see the past work that you've done, and they quickly understand what the process is to go from, I don't know what this is, and now you're going to give me the designs that I'm asking for, or the designs you're going to deliver. And then what helps them get the most excited to work with you is to be, everyone's different on this, but you can think about your audience. So for us, for the Wonder Jam, we talk about all the time, how do we help people stay excited to get things from us that we're giving them from a production capacity. And sometimes there are Allie and I go through before we present logos. We are always asking, does it make sense? Does telling a person this thing about our designs or about the work that we're doing for them make them more excited to consume it or to have it or to use it? So I want you to think through, what kind of questions do people have right when they're about to purchase something, and how can those things, what kind of things do you need to make to help speed up that process? Work samples is really good. Giving people pricing or price estimates helps them like move through things really quickly. I'm trying to think what else. Any other ideas? Work samples is good. Jennifer, great idea. You're smart. So those are the things that help people, even if there's presentation all around. Your work is very big. When you do video of a product, Taylor, right? So all of this, as we're thinking about it, all of this is just creating content. It's stuff that we need to schedule time to sit at home or sit at our desk and make something, so that when we go put out in front of strangers, it helps them have some kind of reaction and some kind of feeling about what they want to do. Jamie gives away rutabaga. That's what I'm talking about. Some kind of conversation instead of just the normal stuff. Give away a rutabaga. That's what I'm talking about. That's the content that you make. The next question, what makes the purchase process more seamless? And then how do you make sure that your customers buy the perfect thing from you? How can you make the purchase process more seamless? Or how can you make sure that the customer buys the perfect thing for you? So a lot is I don't know if any of you hang out in the like makeup beauty world, but finding the right shade, the right color, the right tint, the right tone for your skin color is a big deal. Sephora has a ton of people hanging out, just trying to help you match colors to your skin tone, or telling you how to alter things. We worked with a company that manufactured concrete fireplaces, custom concrete things, expensive things. And when people were buying from them, it was almost more important than updating their website to look good was updating their spec sheets they send potential buyers that help buyers measure their homes, measure the width, understand what kind of gas hookup they need. So there's all those little tiny spec details that people are curious about that they're not going to understand. Kate has a good idea, connecting proposals to sales. So how quickly can we move through that whole process? I would challenge you that there's probably some people or some software systems out there that actually that make the process slower and clunky. And sometimes you might just get by with bullet pointed emails. Other times, if you want to make sure that your customers buy the perfect stuff, we've started doing that a lot more lately, where we have four projects right now, which are all what we're calling test projects. So somebody was like, oh, I have like all of this stuff we need to do. And we just chunked off like a small $700 or $1,200 or $400 project just to test what it's like working together, just so that Allie and I found ourselves getting tied up in putting together these crazy large proposals or putting together these, which were cool, and that's a lot of money. But what we find is the people who spend the most money with us over the course of a year or over the course of 3 years are people who just pay us quickly, and we can just get to work. And we don't spend a ton of time in proposal mode. Now, that's different for us than everybody else. And we work with an audience that's very busy and doesn't have time to read a lot of their own emails. I don't know if we have any lawyers in here right now. I don't think so. So I'll tell the story. But we've worked with 3 or 4 lawyers who are pivoting into some other type of thing. And Allie was joking last night is that the lawyers who read the stuff that we do or read our contracts, they like go through it so fast and sign it. Like, we'll send them a contract and they send it back to us in 1 second. So what kind of information do you need to put in front of people that's like, we can go from, okay, we're pretty sure we want to work with you, to payment project started, scheduled, all of that stuff. Or they walked into your store and they leave with, their something in their cart and they're paid up, or they come back again the easiest time. So think about that. And also, how can you help them make sure that they buy the perfect thing? One of the things, we're working with a company right now that has these like applicator brushes, and we were talking about how could she tell people what things her brushes don't work for, or what other brands that her product doesn't play well with and doesn't collaborate well with. Not because you're trying to advertise like, hey, look at all this stuff that I can't do. But if you can be really honest about, hey, this doesn't work really well, this isn't something that our product does well, don't do this, you won't be happy with the results. You're going to build a lot of trust with people who understand what that actual thing is that you need. So this can be, this is right. We're talking right about that time. We're right at that inflection point where somebody's about to hand you money, and we want to make that purchase just seamless. Question number 12. What materials need created? So this was that question number 11 was right before the sale had happened, and question number 12 is right after that sale happened. What materials need to be created so somebody who signed up, paid, is hyped to get started? And this is a little bit more in line with those with the service-based businesses in here. But if you're a product-based business, the same thing is true in the gap between when somebody buys a product online and when they have it in their hands. This is something that if you're running a community or a network or something like that, this is something that Kate says this is so in line with people selling vegetables, right? So if people are buying food, can you help them be excited to go start using it? Can you help people be excited to get ready for the first meeting? Or when somebody pays you a deposit for their, when someone pays you a deposit for your services, how do you get them excited to go do their homework? How do you keep them connected? What do you need to communicate to them? So you might need to communicate to them, hey, here's the homework I need you to do. I need you to tell me about, I need you to tell me about your goals and what your business is all about. But let me remind you why we're doing all that. And let me explain to you why it translates into the website or the logo or the photography that we're going to do for you. And so, what kind of material and those materials probably are reusable, that you're doing them all of the time. That's question number 12. Question number 13, how might you make your product or service better if people shared about it? How might you make your product or service better if people shared it? And so this should be a question that you're asking your business continually, is how is it better? How is whatever you're doing better so that other people will talk about it? Or if I use it with multiple people, it's better. If we think about, this story has been going on for a long time, but if you think of Amazon has wish lists, gift registries, all of those things are just incentive programs and structures that make shopping in that place or that store or that online site, one, easier to shop in, but two, it makes it better to share. So for Christmas every year, I send all of my family my Amazon wish list, and that's kind of how you work through it. So if you think about your design service, can you, if you're designing things for people, can you also provide them with shareable graphics that you create that help your designs look really fantastic if they share it on social media? How can you create some kind of or a little bit of viralness to the inside of your business? So if you're working in a business that is a little bit more private, so I think if you're a health coach, not everybody likes to broadcast that they're working with a health coach all of the time, or a business coach or a finance coach. If that's something, maybe you can just be part of a really good network. And maybe you can just say, this is better if I tell other people about it because it makes everything really good. Making graphics, making things that are just shareable for your customers and clients is powerful. One of the things that we've seen with people who have physical spaces or who have a booth or who set up at markets, it's also really powerful to think through the design of that room and how can it be shared more often. If you have something cool, Instagram worthy, people tend to take a picture of it. Question 14, what materials need to be created to make the transaction happen? So this question is a little confusing. I want to explain it. Or I probably should figure out how to word it better, but I knew I'd be talking to you. So every time that a transaction happens, there's a number of things that just by default seem to get just sent out to people. So this can be called transactional emails, or so if somebody buys something from our online store, they get a receipt, they get a shipping confirmation, they get a notification that the shipping's been updated. And how can we build those sort of automated transactional things into something that does more for our business? So can you put together some kind of recommended products inside of these transactional emails? When you send somebody a receipt, is it fun? Is it viral? Does it have a nice branded touch to it? Does it seem like it's thought through? And so a big part of separating yourself from everybody else in the world who's doing things is paying attention to those little details inside of those little tiny micro communications that are happening. When somebody joins your email list, what is the introductory email they get? When somebody, MailChimp doesn't do this as much anymore because they stopped forcing people to have those opt-in confirms, but they sent the ugliest freaking emails to confirm email addresses. And everyone we worked with just hated, they hated that. And we would go out of their way, right? So anything that comes with a proposal, anything that comes with an invoice, anything that's part of, whatever somebody's doing, how can you help? What needs to be created to make those interactions strong and have a strong brand to them? So once the purchase and once the whole process is done, what content do you want to send to people at that point? Are you sending people a follow-up email? Are you sending them a thank you package? Are you is part of your wrapping up the project? Is it sending them tutorial videos? What is all of that that's getting made, and is it something that you do repeatedly? So this kind of falls in line with that previous question. There's usually just a set of things that happens around all of that. For some of you who sell a product, the transaction happens maybe right away and they get a credit card receipt emailed to them or printed out, and then they walk out of the store, they walk away from the market. How can you what does all of that look like? Kind of take an inventory of those communications and kind of map that all out, and you'll figure out that you have 5, 10, 15 things that need to be communicated for all of that to happen. And that's where you're going to go invest in copywriting or design or thinking through how you can do something to stand out a little bit, to be memorable, to be shareable, and to help facilitate future relationships with people. Guys, we're 21 questions and we're at question 16. We're really doing it. Proud of you all. What kind of content can you send people later? 3 months later, 1 year later, all of those things. Is that systematized? Do you have a process to make that happen? This is one of the things that is sometimes great for a virtual assistant to put together, or this is something that's great for to add to your calendar of important dates, things like that. So it's not difficult. And I've seen people who create a separate calendar within their Google Calendar or within their whatever calendar system they use, and they just write fun things in there so they can remember, oh, this is a year ago, we had that really cool meeting where we both cried. Or a year ago, just like all of those cool things. Do you have some kind of system to remember all of those? And what kind of content are you sending? There was some discussion this week inside of the Diamond membership where people were talking about giving gifts, which was very cool. There's a really cool book that I mentioned called Giftology, where it's a guy had just written about kind of the systems and formulas and some of the reasoning behind all of giving unique, interesting gifts. So he very much was like, you don't need to send people pens with your logo on it. Send people something really cool that you put together. Oh yeah, there's a good discussion happening. Allie's smart. This part of this question 16 as well is, does your product have a normal life cycle to where, when we make a website for somebody, a year and a half later, they probably should have done something to their website. And if they haven't done anything to their website, then we should probably follow up and be like, hey, do you need some stuff done? Do you feel stuck? What's going on? We can take a peek at their Google Analytics. We can take a peek at, some of those other things. Yeah, a lot of that is we'll get into this, but all of that stuff should be mapped out and should be happening systematically. Now, for some of you who work with people in a really intense way, like health coaches or whatever, you might work with people who you're not super excited to work with them again in the future, if that makes sense. And because you own your own business, and we all own our business in here, it's okay to not always put everyone through the system that you put together. But just imagine that the people who are going through this are your ideal best A+ people. Oh, yeah. Jennifer asked, how do you ask people for their anniversary? Postable is good. Yeah, Postable is a great service. We have a thing called the Friend Zone. I think if you Google it, it shows up. It's kind of hidden. It's kind of buried on our site. Allie, share a link to Postable in there for Jennifer. And we have, I don't know. It's kind of this thing that you would just send Postable's a site service where you would send information to friends and family. You send a link and they would fill out like, these are our birthdays, this is the anniversary, this is just kind of all that stuff that kind of helps them figure out things in there. Jennifer, people love you. They're like happy to talk to you. They're gonna be excited about all of it. We have another form that's called Friend Zone, and that is just ask personal things, and it's just like we will send out random things to people randomly. So we ask people to fill that out as well. Not everyone does it. Not everybody does it. That's okay. Not a big deal. But the more people you work with, the more of those you get. You start to create something, kind of a strong system for all of that. Number 17, what can you do to facilitate the next purchase? So if we could all sit down right now and come up with one really good answer to anything, this would probably be the most lucrative thing that we could work on together. The most lucrative question is, how can you facilitate the next purchase? How do you make that happen? And so we've been talking about that a little bit. Is there a natural life cycle that ends with your product? Do people need to refill 2 months later? Do people need an update? Do people need to upgrade? Do people typically have, those of you who are photographers or content creators inside of here, do people run out of photos or run out of social media captions? Is there something you can do on an ongoing basis? Kate talks about an annual cycle. I know the event planners in here who work for companies or nonprofits. Those all have an annual cycle. We were talking to a couple of event planners this week, and they all were working on some of these monster yearly events, and they were working them almost year round. So they knew, like, this is over. We're going to get feedback. We're going to start planning for the next year, or we already have concepts for the next year. So how do you facilitate all of that? Some of that is in how you facilitate your contracts and your relationship with people. So we don't do this, but some other people who make websites do, is they will say, oh, part of your fee with us is quarterly analytics check-ins or something like that, which is just part of the relationship. That's like an ongoing reason to stay connected. Saying like, oh, every 3 months I'm going to send you your analytics and any observations that I have, or any of those things. We've done that with clients in the past who hire us often for a lot of different things, where we'll say, okay, so last year you paid us in total X number of dollars. Do you think, should we plan that differently? Should it be, we sit down and have a review with them? But yeah, really define follow-up, thinking through how do we facilitate the next purchase from what they already have is very powerful. I sat down in November of 2017. No, this is the middle of 2017. And as Allie and I were thinking about the future, one of the things that started to bubble up in my head with the Wonder Jam was, how do we continue to just do more stuff for the people who have hired us in the past and not even necessarily work really hard at working with new people, because we had worked with a bunch of very cool small businesses and all of them are progressing and growing at different rates. And if we can make ourselves available and useful and helpful to the audience of people that's existed for the last 5 years, we make it easier for people we like working with to sign up and work with us again. It's very cool. So something worth your time, something you should think about. I have a recurring calendar event, a recurring task list for myself that I look at every week that is it's a little bit wild and wacky, but I have it in there just to remind me of it. But it's, how do we make $10,000 more every month with doing what we already have? We haven't been able to really crack that code yet, but it just gets us thinking about people in the right way. Also, I would say, Allie's mentioning creepy targeting Facebook ads at past clients. If you're doing good stuff in the world and if your ads don't make people feel bad, I would say that, you can definitely be super creepy on Facebook, for sure. Just imagine that you're when I sometimes think of when I run an ad for that you all see or that somebody else sees, I think, well, at least they're not seeing some other stupid thing, right? At least it's they're hearing from a buddy instead of some other loser. So email marketing is fantastic. Coming up with a group of people who, if you want to announce cool things that are going on, all of that works really, really well. Good call, Allie. You're being smart in there. How do you make future purchases seamless for repeat customers? What do you need to communicate? How often and in what channel? So this is for people who are already buying from you multiple times. So we're not talking about first purchase to second purchase. We're talking about people who buy from you often. How can you make that easy for them? Can you create a new structure of payment? Could they just say, hey, you shop at this grocery store all the time. Do you just want to give us all this, just give us a ton of money. You can come and go as you please. And that would probably work, honestly. You could think through, do you need to structure your offerings differently? Do you need to continually update people about their own analytics? Do you need to be analyzing their stuff for them? I had a coaching client who has been asking me to go through her social media accounts and tell her what's bad. And then I sometimes feel guilty because I'm this is bad. And then you can pay us to make it good for you, in my opinion. But people want that. So is there somebody you can develop a more personalized monthly tea delivery? Dude, you could do that all day long. It'd be amazing. Oh yeah, Kate did a retainer agreement. We do those too. That's very cool. I like it. Emily's had some email marketing success. Very true. Very true. I think we worked with a group. We worked with a farm, and we have they were distributing to a bunch of different. It's a flower farm, and they're distributing to a bunch of different flower shops and florists, and they're actually Diamond members, but I don't know, they're not in here tonight. They're probably farming. But one of the things that we're working on building for them is text message marketing, because a lot of the people who run florists they don't do a good job with online ordering, and they don't, and they call in their orders randomly. So they'd have to have a person manning a whole desk. But if you could send a text message, all of their people text message. So they're running text message marketing just to 28 people. It's a very small list. They're not going to win an award for having 100,000 users, but this is going to help those people order very quickly. They order every Monday. They need to see Monday morning. They need to get a list of what's there, and then they need a follow-up phone call at 1 p.m. or between noon and 2. And those people are going to that text message to 28 people is going to generate a ton of money, and it's going to save the business a lot of money in its operations and a lot of headache. So just be thinking through, how do you make future purchases seamless? How do you make it easy? One of the reasons that we jump into Amazon, right, and just spend like an infinite amount of money is that it's just so easy, right? Text message services, I think ClickSend is a good one to use if you want to check it out. Yeah, I mean, one of my goals, I don't like doing text message marketing just to be stupid or just like, I mean, any of us who have participated in it would go to like a soccer match or a football game or basketball something or a concert, and they're like, text Pepsi to whatever age to like enter to win something. And all of those future text messages we get, I don't really care about. But if we think about text messages or emails or Facebook ads or all of that stuff as just communication, and then it's just really like, how do we communicate with people? And text is like a very safe throwaway thing. It's like very non-offensive, especially when people want to jump into it. So for my coffee business, I only roast coffee one weekend every month. And the VIP list of people who buy coffee from me, I could probably only have 5 customers, my top 5 customers, and I could just not roast coffee for anybody else. And I would make almost the same amount of money I make currently. That's not a ton of money, but just understanding I could send a text message to 5 people and that would be enough to like keep my business at break even level. And so communicating with them is just very, very important. Kate, I ship all of my stuff. You can get on the coffee list. Good question. If you go to artercoffee.com, Allie will throw a link in there for you. Or if you just like email me your address. Yeah, that's good. artercoffee.com. There's a little email opt-in in there, and I send email. I send an email list to everybody who can jump in. And yeah, so I send a text message and an email once a month, and that generates all of my sales that way. And it controls my production because I have this other full-time job called the Wonder Jam. It's actually slightly more than a full-time job because it's like $9.17 right now. So yeah, so it's just simple, keeps it locked and tight. I don't have to worry about somebody ordering from me in the middle of a Tuesday and I have plans that night and I have to run around. So it's a way I keep it locked in. But just think about the communication. It's just about communication, and as human as we can be, I started roasting coffee because people were texting me that they were out of coffee. And so sending them a text message telling them when there is coffee just makes sense. Question number 19, we're almost through it. How do you create VIPs? How do you identify them? How do you know who they are? How can you figure out who your best people are? And how do you treat them differently? At the Wonder Jam, we have a huge doc of everyone who's ever paid us money. Congratulations, you all are there. And we go through all of that and we figure out what percentage of our revenue our top customer is or our top 10% is. And we go through what they spent money on. So our top 10 people, we analyze them at the end of the year. We think through what can we do more from. I'll show up to them. I'll be like, hey, we are thinking about bringing on this type of role and person. Does that seem like something you would need? Yes or no, it doesn't matter, but I'll experiment with hiring that person instead of you. We can figure it out. So all of that to say, you learn to fill in gaps for your best people, as long as it fits in with what you want your business to do and all of those things. It should be pretty easy. I was doing it today. It would be pretty easy to download an export of all of your top customers and using their email address, create a bunch of people that you follow on a bunch of people to follow on Twitter, a bunch of people to connect with on Facebook. So a lot of those things, if you create personal accounts, you can upload email address lists into, and you'll be able to find those people. So those would be the type of people who you want to be following and interacting with personally. Can you stalk them and figure out when they have new things coming up and send them gifts proactively or any of that stuff? Yeah. So we do that with, let's go to question 20. Where do you need help? So as you go back through the last 19 questions and you think through top to bottom, where is all of this? where do you need help? And then I would come up with a good answer for this for you all. How much is it worth for you to get better in that area, or have an expert come in and do that for you? One of the things I see is that people often, especially small businesses, cash flow is limited. I don't know anyone who's in here who has unlimited amounts of money. But this is like a very DIY, rugged, a bunch of people who are going to go figure it out on their own, which is a very good thing. But the downside to that is that there's some places where if we could work with somebody and say, actually, I have these 8 emails that I send all the time. So I'm going to go find a copywriter and I'll be like, I want you to make these 8 emails like a work of art. Or I have this one, I found it with my coaching business where there was like 6 things that I was always giving people to do in an email. And I paid our team to design out a bunch of homework for me to give people, just because I was like, I want this to be exciting. I want people to print this off and work through it, not to just open up a Google Doc and start typing in an ugly font or something like that. I just want it to be better. I wanted people to be excited. And is it worth it for people? The first person I showed my intro homework to he just was like, oh my gosh, if I had something like this, I would make a lot more money. Just the perception of the whole thing changes, even if the content is the same. So does it make sense for you to work with somebody to systematize an influencer campaign? Or does it make sense to build out an affiliate structure? Does it make sense to hire somebody to run ads for you, or to teach you how to run ads? So just think about how much is that worth, how much would you save by having a professional do it? Sometimes I think we waste tens of thousands of dollars because we're afraid to spend $1,000. But everyone's got their own cash flow. Everybody's got their own, sort of personal speed at which they need to learn and hire stuff out. But just understand what the next pieces of your funnel are and where you need the help. The next thing I would say, and I would tell you to do this at least quarterly, but how often are you going to come back to these 21 questions to refresh, improve, and expand? Knowing that none of us are going to have perfect funnels. None of us are going to have a perfect process through all of this, but we're just trying to improve and get better next month than we are now. And when we work through with the next customers or the next clients, that they're even happier the next time they work through all of this. It's the reason that we did the staggered pricing with the Diamond membership, knowing that, hopefully in 3 months from now, we aren't having technical difficulties on our webinars. That's very annoying. But yeah, so how can you work through all of that to come back, refresh, improve, and expand? It should be sitting on your calendar. You should have a quarterly planning day or a quarterly whatever. Or if you're one of those people who is talking about getting childcare, maybe you can't afford childcare every day so that you can work, but maybe you could say, hey, once every 3 months, I'm going to have somebody take my whole day. So Emily says this conversation was 100 worth my investment. I like it. So here's your homework. Here's what I would love to see you all do is I'd love you to map out the questions 1 to 21. Which questions are you crushing? Which of these things? Because some of you, as you were responding in here, I could tell I'm like, they've got this thing going on. They don't need any help. All of this is great, right? So which questions are you crushing? And be proud of that. But also you don't need to go work on it. So sometimes there's like, hey, this thing's awesome. I'm just going to keep working on it because I'm so awesome at it. At some point you're like, this is good enough. I'm going to go fix a new thing. Question number 2, where questions are you the weakest? And just even as we were talking and going through this, some of you really got stuck. Or like, oh man, I can't figure out my answer for this. I don't know what I can even do. Or I know what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. So what's one small way you could start doing something where you actually had nothing going on before? Number 3, might there be something that you could do that would serve the entire funnel? So is there something that you might have happen? Could you throw a party? Could you start a podcast that would talk to strangers and VIPs and give you some opportunity to interact with your current customers? Could you start interviewing your customers and featuring them on a YouTube channel? what kind of things could you do that would serve every step of the funnel, not just one specific little piece. Usually those long form content pieces are something that work with VIPs and strangers alike, and people get really excited about. So I would think through, is there a magic bullet, silver bullet, silver, I don't know, two birds with one stone, one of those things. Question number 4, when are you going to work on strengthening your funnel, and is it in your calendar? So it's very easy to sit through and do these tasks and homework, and it's very difficult to carve out time and actually do it. And so I'd love it if you all would put some time on your calendar that's like, okay, I really need to figure out text message marketing. Who would I do that for? I'm going to put a 15-minute slot in my calendar, and I'm going to go try and be helpful. I'm going to go try and figure out the answers to my business. I'm going to figure out what tools to use. I didn't know how to use text message marketing, and then I wanted to, and then I did. And I didn't know how to do Facebook ads, and then I tried to, and then I understand it. And yeah, so just, it's okay to not know stuff, but it doesn't mean we can't go investigate on our own. And then once we investigate on our own, usually we're like, okay, I can figure that out, or I'm going to go pay somebody to take care of that for me. So those are the 4 pieces. This video will be up inside of the Diamond membership. And I will also include a link to the PDF of the slides so that you can see all 21 kind of in a row if you would like to. Or maybe I'll just list them out. I'm just going to list them out in text underneath there as well, since you can take all of that. But if any of you work through this, if you put it into a Google Doc, I would love it if you shared all of that with me. I would love to, if as we do these calls, if you want to schedule a 15-minute call and kind of just talk through your stuff and where you're stuck, we can come up with ideas. The biggest thing is not to have good answers for all of this stuff, but the biggest thing is to schedule some time to make the things that you put in front of people that help pull them through the funnel or help them accelerate at the pace they want to through that funnel instead of on your own. So I dig it. You guys you're freaking smart, which I love. I'll hang out for a little bit. Allie and I will hang out with some questions for some Q&A time. If anybody has questions or wants to share anything or needs something somewhere else, needs something explained. Emily wants tech. Okay, I'll text you. I'm just going to text you all at random. That's funny. We could do it. What do I need to remind everyone of? Remind everyone, I'm going to go back to, can I go all the way back? Yeah, I can. Roll way back. I'm going to go back to the announcements again, and I'll just hit up in case anybody missed that. So I'm going to send you an email. Allie had a link, and we'll post that in the Facebook group for Diamond members. I'm going to be sending out a link to schedule one-on-one phone chats or Skype chats or whatever, however you want to do that. And I'll just have some questions about how your business is doing, what you're working on, what's new, because I want to stay understanding of where people are, and I want to make sure that our capsule content takes care of all of that. May Capsule is going to be about content, about making stuff. So what I'm really excited about is for you all to come up with really important things that you need made from this conversation, and then jump into whatever's happening. And then the next capsule is going to be good for all of that. In June, we're going to be talking about self-care for entrepreneurs, which is cool. I've been excited about it. We wanted to do it earlier, but we logistically are going to change up a little bit of what we were doing. So that's going to be killer. See you, Jennifer. See you, Emily. Thanks for being here. Price pops up midnight, April 30th. Allie and I stay up till midnight because we're there. And one of the days I had 2 a.m. slots available. That's what I'm talking about. I'll check that out. Thanks, Kate. So price goes up midnight, April 30th. Allie and I make sure all the new content is published, and then we immediately change the prices. So that's how that all works. Kate, I get my sleep. It just comes whenever I have it. So I'm not a sleep deprived person. Allie and I are not sleep deprived. My gosh. And I fly to Dubai to do that. I would love it if some of you were in ads like Jennifer. And next week, I think we'll feature Taylor, I believe. And I would love to have some more of you in there. It's a ton of fun, and you get to talk about what your business is and what's going on with Diamond membership. So I just want to make a big deal about you guys because you're all cool. And if other people wish they were like you, then I'm into it. So